Today we are driving the Polestar 4, which is a polarizing car, no pun intended, because of the fact that it has no rear window, something that we're definitely going to get to, of course. My name is Peter and the Polestar 4 is quite the electric sedan. Is it still a sedan? I think Polestar calls it an SUV, but I'd say it's more towards the sedan end of the spectrum. It's a big car, almost 5 meters long, 2 meters wide, with a whole lot of power inside as well. And it's a nice premium product from Polestar, because obviously it is a car that is aiming towards the upper end of the market, something that we can also see here on the side, because Polestar is always so nice to write down what is inside. 100 kilowatt hour of battery with 400 kilowatts of power. This is the dual motor long range version of the car. I think it's quite nice that in a day and age where all cars go through the same wind tunnel and basically all end up in the same shape, that Polestar says, hold my beer, we're going to build a car the way we want to design it and you better like it or not. And of course the rear window is part of it, but I think the whole design of the car, as we'll see on the inside later as well, is something that you really have to like and appreciate. I can really think that people like this car and say, yes, that is for me. And at the same time, I can also easily see that people don't like this design at all. Here in the front, I turn the headlights on. You can see that split daytime running light design with the two sections and then the main beams underneath here. Quite low in the car, as you can see, which is nice. These modern LEDs are so good these days that they don't have to be very high up on the body anymore. And I think all round it is quite a striking car here from the front. Now obviously you want to see the rear window, or the lack thereof rather. So let's have a look. This is the storm gray version color, by the way. And as you can see, it is quite reflective here, but there is really no rear window. They put a line here where a window normally would be to break this sort of panel a little bit, but you can see that it is really, there's nothing there. There is, however, a dual camera system up here for your rear view mirror, which is not a mirror but a screen really, in the front. So you can still see behind when you're driving, but yeah, there is no rear window whatsoever. Now I have to say, here on the outside it sort of works. I kind of like the back. You can see this sort of continuous light strip here. I think it looks sleek and somewhat elegant. But when you're following this car, especially on the highway, I always like to see through cars to see what's happening in front of them. And that is obviously not possible here. It's the same effect a little bit with vans or like things like a Volkswagen Caddy, for example, that you can't see through. It's the same with this car. So it is actually a little bit annoying following this car and not being able to sort of see through the car. But then again, the percentage of Polestar 4s on the road obviously is not that big. So not much of an issue, but if you are behind this car, you do notice. Now here from the outside, not much of an issue, but if we go briefly to the inside of the car, as we'll see in a bit more detail later, you can see here that, yeah, behind there, there's just this big black void of nothingness. So that's interesting to consider. Obviously, all that power and all those kilowatt hours have to be charged, which we can do here on the left of the car. This is a 200 kilowatt maximum charger in this Polestar 4, which I have to say is not the fastest in the world. My Xpeng G6 already does 280, because in the end this is a Chinese car as well. And the new generation Xpengs goes close to 500. And yeah, I would have expected a little bit more for a car that is well over 25,000 euro more than my own Xpeng. That said, 200 is still quite a lot. So the 100 kilowatt hour battery, I think it's 10 to 80% in half an hour. So, you know, still very good and mostly better than what the Germans are offering. But still, I would have expected a little bit more. Small funny little detail. This is the key, quote unquote, that you get from Polestar, which is not a key. There's no sort of metal bit involved at all. But it is also nothing you can press. There's no button involved at all. It's just this little box. So it's just a transmitter. And you walk away from the car, it locks. You walk towards the car, it unlocks. But there's nothing to do here. So you just have this on your person, and that is all. Obviously, a little tour through the cockpit of this Polestar 4, and there is quite a lot to see. So let's take it one by one. Everything you see here, by the way, is eco-friendly Nappa leather, animal cruelty free produced and so on, in zinc with charcoal. So in case you're wondering, that is what the color is. And that is a 5,000 euro extra option though. So as far as that goes. It is pricey, but it is very nice. These seats obviously very comfortable. Now, it is a very modern Chinese design, which means basically the complete absence of any kind of buttons. The only buttons I have here are for the window controls and locking and unlocking all the doors. So that is what you get. There's also a volume button here in the middle with a play pause button inside. And that's it. That's all your physical controls, really. Everything else you have to do in the screen, and that goes from adjusting your mirrors to adjusting the ventilation and basically anything else you want to do with the car. Personally, I don't like it. I think it's too much, especially things like mirror control, something you want to often do on the go, you know, when you're wearing a thick jacket or when somebody tall is behind you. You're like, oh, let me adjust that a little bit. I want a physical button for that. For the ventilation and such, I can live with it, but it would still also be nice to have physical vent controls for the air direction, for example. The upside is that you get a very clean and calm interior. I said the same in my Xpeng, the same downsides as well, but it does result in a very calm cockpit, which is nice. If we look through the cabin, besides the window controls, we have deep door bins on each side with some structure in it, so you can actually place your bottle and some other things separately. And then there is the steering wheel in front of us with a nice center mark and a flat bottom to get in and out easier. And it's a nice chunky wheel. What is not so good is the capacitive context depending buttons on the steering wheel. Those don't work. They're not good. I don't like them in any car, and in this one it is also particularly annoying. So annoying, in fact, that this 2025 model still has them, but Polestar has realized after less than positive feedback from their customers that this is not a good solution. So in the 2026 models, this has been addressed and has been improved for real buttons. Real things behind the steering wheel too. We have the drive selector on the right with the parking button, and on the left you have your indicators, your wiper settings, and your main beams and your high beams. So nice and simple. This is the way you want it to be. There's a big sensor on top as well for your drowsiness and focus alerts and so on. And then there's the driver display through the steering wheel together with the head-up display in the window. Nice combination always that I can find all my information in one line of sight. I really enjoy driving like that. And of course, the driver display, you can select a certain amount of things you want there, from your navigation to adjust your speed to your battery percentage and so on. Basically everything that you expect. So that's excellent, especially in combination with the head-up display. You can make a nice tandem that way to have all the information at a glance. That brings us to the center display, which is the modern Chinese way as well. It's a good size and it is snappy, it's fast, it does everything you want a infotainment system to do. It is really a joy to work with systems like this because it's just almost an iPad experience that you're used to at home in your car. So this does everything you want it to do. Everything from your phone, your media, your navigation, car setting, everything is here, obviously, as you expect. Then we move underneath to a big air vent that you have to control through the screen, and this floating middle section with some storage and cup holders under this little cover, and a wireless charging pad here for your phone. So that is all nice and clean. And of course the armrest here can open as well for some more USBs and a little bit of extra storage. There's also storage underneath, quite a large bin, big enough for like a handbag or even like a small backpack or something, and some stuff you want to have out of the way. And they haven't forgotten about a glove box. For that though, we have to go to the menu, interior and storage, and then we can open it like that. And I have my media information and my emergency kit in there, and you have to close it manually. And you can even put a PIN code so nobody can get in. Of course, we've got to mention the rear view mirror, which is actually a mirror to see the people behind you. So in my case, that's my kids. So if I want to keep an eye on them, I can flip the switch here and then I can see them. If I flip it back into normal mode, I see what the rear view camera sees. And that is all there is to it, because of course there is no rear window. Special mention for the audio system. It's a Harman Kardon system and it is awesome. It is very good, very loud. You can barely go above half volume before your eardrums will give out. And there is quite a lot to see. Go to audio here. There's zones in the car. You can set your surround sound settings. You can even have sound coming from the headrest here as the driver. There's an equalizer and there's several volume settings, obviously, for all the different elements of the car. So you can actually tune this in pretty reasonable ways for your own liking, for your own kind of music. And all around it is it's excellent. It's an epic sound system. So very, very nice, especially on longer journeys with your music. Very, very nice. The seats are very comfortable as well. I'm quite easily fitting in them, even with my enormously broad shoulders, of course. And all around, it's a very calm cabin, like I already mentioned. Also for longer journeys, it's pleasant to travel in. You find a good position to sit, and all around, it is a good position to be in here as the driver. The car being so wide, the view out is important as well, of course. I can see the flanks on the car really well because they're slightly raised, and that makes it easier to navigate and maneuver in smaller spaces. The window is not very high, it's pretty flat, obviously for aerodynamic reasons, but I can still see around pretty well. Thanks to the panoramic roof, there's a lot of light coming in, even though with this zinc colored interior that is not strictly necessary, it is always pleasant. And it doesn't get very hot either, so the tinting is very well judged. Obviously, we're going to do a little bit of driving in this Polestar 4, starting in a build-up area, sort of downtown, the area where I live. It is a car that is large, but not to the point where it becomes unmanageable in city traffic. Most of all, it's a very wide car, so any kind of narrow street stuff, this car certainly doesn't like. But other than that, the length is very manageable. Also in underground car parks and so on, it's mostly the width of the car that bothers you rather than the length. Driving over a couple of speed humps here, as you can see, it is a heavy car. So doing this, you certainly want to have the suspension in the comfortable mode, and you also want to have your throttle in the comfort mode, or the standard mode rather than the performance mode. There is a lot of performance in this car, and if you put the throttle especially in the performance mode, the car becomes a bit nervous on the throttle, and especially on lower speeds, obviously you want to be able to dose the throttle nicely, and when you put it on the full attack mode, it becomes a bit jerky and a bit harder to drive smoothly, which is less of an issue when you're alone in the car, but I have a family, 2 kids and a wife, and they don't really appreciate that. So despite the size of the car, it then gets jerky to the point where it is annoying. So if you put everything in comfort, a bunch of speed humps like this, no issues whatsoever. The large 21-inch wheels obviously take a little bit of the comfort away. I think the 20-inch wheels would be fine too. I think you get a little bit more tire there, especially on rougher surfaces that could be beneficial. Now obviously this car has a lot of performance. You are basically one of the fastest cars in all of traffic, but not to the point where on every traffic light you're like, yeah, let's smoke this Renault next to me or something. It's not a car that really invites to hooliganism in terms of humiliating other drivers around you. And the week that I had this car, I find it a lot more satisfying to use the power on a bigger road, like a ring road or a highway, where you can really let that power go. And for example, when you meet a fast BMW or maybe a Porsche or something, sort of really stretch its legs and see what all that performance can do. And then it is a mighty machine. But here in the sort of city traffic, I never really have the feeling that I want to do that. So here in the back of the Polestar 4, we can really start to feel the benefits of that 3-meter wheelbase and the long car. There is a ton of space back here, even for somebody my size at 1.83 meters and about 90 kilos. So I can sit very comfortably. I cannot put my feet under the driver's seat when it's in my position. I like to sit quite low in the car, but yeah, I can't put my feet underneath. So that is a thing. Other than that, there is more than enough space. Also for headroom, there's about 2 fingers. So if you're taller than, let's say, 185 towards 190, then you're going to hit the roof. But for me, it is all fine. The quality back here is basically the same as in the front. So you get the same Napa leather, animal free. That is also written here on the seat. Animal welfare, 100% trace materials. Job well done, Polestar. And all around, it is a nice place to be. The seat in front of me has a hard back. So if you're really tall and you have to touch the seat with your knees, it gets really uncomfortable. But the space to the seats is this much. So more than enough space and room for me to move about and still be comfortable. Also, thanks to the completely flat floor, I can actually move my feet across the whole width of the car. Excellent, well done. Now, obviously, you see it behind me. It is the big black hole of nothingness because there is no rear window. In the front, you can fake it a little bit with that camera instead of the rear view mirror. Works pretty okay, because as a driver, you're usually not turned around fully. But back here, it is always in the corner of your eye that there's a big black void of nothingness back here. And it's especially interesting when you start to drive, that there's nothing moving sort of in your peripheral vision. And especially at night, you notice it, that there's no street lights or anything coming from the rear. So it's not an issue per se, but it is something you definitely need to get used to. Obviously, they tried to solve it with the panoramic roof all the way to the back of the car, and that definitely helps. There's a lot of light in here, and it actually really feels voluminous back here, so that's really good. But yeah, it's always there. The connection to the front of the car is good too, despite the fact that the seats are one big piece. I can actually look around relatively okay, and there's a lot of information coming from basically anywhere in the car. So that's good, because the rear windows are not too big, but it is, yeah, it feels airy and spacious here, mainly thanks to the big roof. Now, we have an armrest here in this third seat, and I say in on purpose, because it is the whole seat that is removed and then becomes your armrest. So yeah, no cup holders or anything in the middle of it, but the cup holders are in the headrest of that middle seat, and they click out like so. So interesting solution to take the whole seat away, but yeah, when you're sitting here with two adults or two big kids, then it is actually fine that you have such a big armrest. And there's actually buttons in here as well to recline the seat. So I can press it and then I get that luxury electric adjustment. It's not, you know, the world in angles or anything, but it's fine, and it actually works pretty well. But I will touch the panel here with my head if I go all the way back. But for my kids, it worked really well. So that's the back. I have a few creature comforts as well, with my own window controls, of course, a bit of a net in the seat in front of me. And there's a little screen down here to change the temperature and the seat heating and the music and so on. So all around, it is a good place to be. Also for adults, my size, also for longer journeys. Obviously, we got to talk about the price of the Polestar 4. So I have the price list for the Netherlands right here. You can start already under 60,000 euro for the Polestar 4 standard range version. But we are in the long range dual motor version, and that one starts at 67,800 euro here in the Netherlands. But we have quite a few options. The storm grey color on the outside is 1,300 euro. The bottom part of the body in the same color is another 1,000. The nice animal-friendly Nappa leather is 5,000 euro. We have the Pilot Pack, the Plus Pack and the Pro Pack for 1,500, 3,000 and 2,000 euro extra. Charging cable is 200 euro, and the extra privacy glass in the rear windows is another 500 euro. Bringing this one as it sits here for a grand total of 82,300 euro. So that is quite the premium on top of the 67,800 that this car costs in this form, at least with battery and dual motor from the factory. Obviously a little bit of cruising here on the highway as well as part of this review. And you can of course guess already that this is a good cruising car. The size, the weight, and of course all that power makes it excellent for long distance driving and pleasant cruising. All boxes ticked as far as that goes, but there are a few things worth mentioning. First of all is the wind noise, particularly from the mirrors, is too much. Obviously in the EV it's quiet and you know there's no engine to drown out sounds, so you notice things more. But that means that the designers need to pay special attention to especially wind management. And the mirrors are so loud that I on occasion thought that I had my window cracked open just a little bit. It's too much. Even my wife mentioned it yesterday in a little road trip with the family. She's like, what's with this noise? So that is actually quite annoying. And also the tires make a bit of a ruckus here, even here on the smooth Dutch roads. So it is not as quiet in here as you would assume. Especially when you go over 100 kilometers an hour. We're doing 116 now, but if you go more towards 120, 130, it really becomes too noisy. The second thing worth mentioning for me is the brakes. First of all, when you have to stomp on the pedal really hard, like emergency stop style, they're not as powerful as I thought they would be, or hoped they would be maybe even. They stop fine in the end, you know, no issues, but yeah, it feels like that there's not enough back pressure in the pedal and that the deceleration is not sufficient. So that is a bit concerning sometimes. I mean, obviously you're not doing emergency stops on the daily, but you know, with a big, heavy, powerful car, you also want it to stop properly. And that same feeling, the lack of feel almost, is also present here on the highway when you need to brake a bit more when there's a traffic jam approaching or something. The feedback is not very nice. It's a bit hard to describe on camera when you can't feel it yourself, obviously. But I wish there was a bit more feedback and a bit more power in the brakes. Obviously, when you go over speed bumps and uneven roads, you know, fine, you expect it to bounce a little bit because, you know, it's a heavy car and you need heavy suspension in order to deal with that weight. But even here on the highway, when there's some breaks in the road, some bumps in the road, sometimes the car is bouncing a little bit too much for my liking. And I would have expected it to be slightly softer because even in the softer setting, it feels bouncy at times. That said, the car can handle its weight quite well with the four-wheel drive system, of course, and with the stiffer suspension. When you have long corners on and off the highway, for example, you know, it's all fine. And you notice that the car is in control of its weight. The power is, of course, important to mention. I've had it in the standard setting most of the time. The performance setting makes the gas pedal a bit too sensitive for my liking. And in the normal setting, there is a artificial delay built into the gas pedal that you have to give it a lot of gas, and then it takes a second, or I didn't time it exactly, but before the power fully comes in. So they've made that power curve in such a way that even if you sneeze, for example, and hit the gas pedal, or if you just want to give a little bit of extra speed, that you don't fly off into the distance right away at illegal speed. So that's actually quite nice, and I prefer it to driving in the performance mode, where the gas pedal is very sensitive, and before you know it, you're flying out of your chair, which is especially unpleasant for passengers. So it's a good setting. All that power makes it very drivable. I've said it in previous reviews too, but I often hear it still from people around me and also you guys in the comments, like that all that power is not necessary. We don't need EVs with nearing 600 horsepower. No, maybe we don't. 100 horsepower is fine too. You can still get going and still cruise as well, sure. But it just gives you so many more options while driving, for overtaking, for getting on and off the highway, and it just makes life so much easier when you know there's always performance available at the press of your right foot. And it makes it nice. It's not like you have to start racing anybody here, but it's still pleasant to know and pleasant to use all that power when there's a situation you need to get out of, or when you're like, ooh, the merging lane is a bit shorter than I thought, then it's so nice to have. But in all fairness, you don't use that power 95% of the time, of course. I mentioned in the city driving part that, you know, it's not that you're going to be at the traffic light here trying to beat people in BMWs, but here on the highway, when there's a bit more space and you do encounter a nice Maserati or somebody in a nice Porsche or something, it is fun to give it a bit of beans and sort of show what your car can do. It's always kind of nice. So overall, I think it is a interesting car from Polestar. I think they should be applauded for making a design that is not for everybody, with that window delete, which is annoying at times. You know, every time I look in my blind spot, for example, I see that black void there. It's not my favorite. I'd rather have a actual pane of glass there, to be honest. But it is a bold design, and I think they should be applauded for doing so. Making a car that, you know, has a bit of controversy in it, and the same goes for the outside. In general, I think this is something you have to really appreciate, or not at all. The inside here certainly is premium. I think they make a premium product for a premium price as well. With 85K, this is certainly not cheap. But yeah, for that you get a lot of premium materials, a premium experience, a nice cruiser, spacious for your family in the back on the way to the ski holiday in Austria. I think this is excellent for that. And I think if you can appreciate all of that, it is certainly worth at least a test drive if you can afford it. And it's an interesting alternative to the likes of BMW and Audi and so on. Is it worth the 85K? It's a bit difficult to say. I mean, my Xpeng G6 all-wheel drive performance has 50 horsepower less and costs 30,000 euro less, and it's 0.2 seconds slower to 100 kilometers an hour. So you know, as far as that goes, maybe it's not worth it, but you do get a more premium product inside here, I think. So, you know, as far as that goes, it's a bit of give and take. For now, thank you very much for watching, and give it a sub to the channel if you haven't already. Also to follow my Xpeng G6 ownership series with more episodes coming to you real soon. And of course, we can always use the support. Until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers!